Welcome to MCC Made, the official podcast of Metropolitan Community College.
Giving you a backstage pass to all things MCC with your hosts, Emma Frazier and Katherine Riggs. Okay, I was watching TV. I forget what channel I was watching, and I saw they were called, they were some kind of, I don't want to say the name, I guess, but who cares? They were called monkey magnets. What? And it was like a full-blown infomercial, and I realized I don't see them anymore.
Infomercials?
Yeah, and I know they still exist, but I'm not at a sleepover at 1 a.m. watching a full infomercial. And but it made me think about that. And have you ever bought anything from an infomercial? Even if it was as seen on TV, you didn't call the infomercial line and pay the shipping and handling fees.
Okay, before I do that, because you just told me what the name of this product
Monkey magnets?
I want to take a guess at what what it is.
Okay.
I am envisioning two magnets that are kind of like connected by a string, and then they like, if you need to like, I don't know.
If you need to,
I don't know, like two magnets connected like by like, or like rubber, and they it's like, oh, sorry. Sorry to our listeners. I wish this was an audio or a visual medium. That they like, it like wraps around something and then they connect at the ends. Mm-mm. What is a monkey magnet?
Monkey magnets were like, they showed them that you could put them like on, like the example they had is basically you could put them like on your cabinets and it would make them like soft close. But then they showed like other places you could put monkey magnets, and I was watching with my husband. And he was like, Sam was in. He had a look on his face, and I go, "You are not buying monkey magnets." They were like almost, like I actually was like almost on board, but they have like their logo on them, which is a red monkey's like outline of its head. No. And I was like, I don't want to, and I literally said, I don't want to see that monkey every time we open the cabinets.
Okay.
Yeah, ruby monkey magnets. You can buy them at Ace Hardware.
Okay.
But they are as seen on TV, and it made me really long for like Yeah, you can put them like on. It's basically so things can become like soft close.
Okay.
Or like if you have a door that like kind of maybe like doesn't shut all the way, like it doesn't catch, it can like fix that.
Interesting.
But they also say can fit just about anywhere and stay out of sight. Oh, like see, this person has one on their mailbox.
Oh, you know
to
what?
Keep it
Stupid.
shut.
I have a place where I could absolutely.
You could use some monkey magnets.
Well,
you have a birthday coming up.
Don't we all?
And I need ideas, and I just got one.
Okay, so, as seen on TV items. Okay,
a Snuggie.
I have never had a Snuggie.
What? I did. I don't anymore. Let me just say, Snuggie was onto something actually.
Yeah.
And but I want a Snuggie now that's like more high quality. Like I want a Snuggie that is like Sherpa lined.
Okay, they make those.
Okay.
They make them.
I haven't seen them as seen on TV.
No.
So
but you just said that you don't wake up at 2 a.m. and see them.
Oh my God, because those were the best ones.
Yes. Okay, so I have an experience. Okay. Of course, I did not buy this for myself.
Right, of course.
So I was a child. I was a child.
She was a child.
Do you remember the commercials? Was it like called a For Real Baby?
She looks for real. No, a baby born?
Maybe.
Baby born, baby born.
I don't remember exactly what they're called, but they're like, oh my God, they're tiny and you hold them and they move. And so I was like, oh my God, this is.
Oh, I think that was For Real. No, For Reals were all animals because it was like fur.
Yeah, I know. There would be 4.
Was it Baby Alive?
Baby
Alive. See how my brain knows the.
But I'm going to describe this to you. So, I begged for this. Okay. I was like, I want this. And I
need this.
For my birthday, my gram bought it for me. She bought 2 of them. And I said, oh my God, a boy and a girl. I was pumped. I opened them up. Katherine, it is literally pretty much like a piece of fabric with little hands
Oh my
sewn
God, I
and
remember
feet
this.
and a head. And so you had to like put your hand in, like it moved because it was your hand. I'm
I
like,
remember this doll.
yes. And I was like, this is a scam.
Oh my God, that just unlocked something within me. Oh my God, what was that called? Baby doll that was puppet. Because that's really My Real Baby.
My Real Baby. And I was so
these pictures. You can buy one on Poshmark.
The disappointment when I opened that and realized what it was, My Real Baby.
1990s.
I was
you were what is that tweet? I too was bamboozled.
we are being bamboozled.
We're being bamboozled. I will say, the big one our family had, because, and I'm sure you also watched the infomercial like it was every time it was on, because how could you not, was the magic bullet.
Yeah. We did not have a magic bullet.
We finally did get one, and I must say it was pretty good. I mean, now they still basically make them just as another, like by any other name. But yeah, we were in on the ground floor with that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we wanted to buy them.
In one,
me,
2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. And then they'd hold that 5 seconds for so long. Well, here's the thing. It did work. It did not work in the 3 seconds they always told you everything worked. That was bad. But you could make a really good milkshake in them.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
And like as an adult now, I'm like, ooh, I wish I had it for some margaritas, but or anything like that. But we had that, and then we had I'm just thinking of the other ones I used to watch all the time. But that was the big one that we had that felt very, very cool to finally get because it was on TV all the time.
Yeah. The other...
With that insane commercial. Oh my God. And the guy, there was the Australian guy and then the lady with the little blonde flipped hair.
Yes.
And all those like insane, wacky characters come into the kitchen. I could probably quote it like line for line.
Yeah. The other thing as a kid that I got, that again, I say, this was as advertised, but lived in my brain differently than when it arrived, was the like rainbow paint.
Yes, I wanted that. And then you're like, but what else do you do with it?
That and like, again, you're a kid, you're an idiot. And so you're like,
we mean that with love. All of your kids are geniuses.
They are, but they're not. So like, you like go and like you get like one swipe, and then you have to like do it exactly the same spots.
Or it's gross.
Or then all of your paint is ruined, and the brush is ruined, and you're just like, oh,
now
okay.
What? Now what?
I guess
I want to say I had a Marvin's Magic drawing board, which was like, you would like, it also only drew things in rainbow, and you had to have like the special tool. I don't know, Google it if you're at your desk, but I didn't have. And then now we have to pivot into what other people had that you did not have that you always wanted, because I remember in grade school, the kid who sat next to me, whose name I will not reveal, but I remember who he is. He had blow pens.
Oh yeah,
I wanted blow pens so bad, and he had them, and he would never let me try one because he thought since I was a girl, I was gross.
Yeah.
So
he was ahead of the curve on germs.
So listen, I know he's not listening, but I still remember that guy from my third grade class.
Blow pens, wow.
They were, for those who don't remember, they were basically like airbrush pens. You could but you would like have to put the pen, you would like, there was like a marker inside, and you'd have to like put it a certain way, and then you would literally like blow on one end, and then it would like blow out in sort of a like an airbrush looking way like onto your paper.
Yeah.
And okay, like to do any kind of drawing, you'd be exhausted.
Yeah. Also, it's like your aim has to be really...
Yeah, you've got to have some pizzazz to be able to do real things with a blow pen. But then you could take them out and just color like with the markers.
Yeah.
And then there was ones that would like, you could have like the special blow pen then that would like change the colors and stuff. It was like, I thought those were so cool.
Okay, first of all, shout out to my Graham, because now as I'm like thinking about this, all of the things that I got from
Graham was on the same wavelength.
She was like, sure, whatever you want, dear.
Yeah.
And of course there was always like some payment plan. I'm like, it's only this much.
Yeah, so you're telling your parents and they're like,
my puppet baby. I'm like,
I can't get over the puppet baby. I forgot about those.
What I will say is, I think what has now replaced the infomercial is Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So they just filled that. They just filled that void.
That's a great point because wow, I own multiple things that I have seen on Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. I am a big advocate for the Scrub Daddy.
Yeah.
If you're not using Scrub Daddies, I don't know what you're up to because they are legitimately the best sponges of all time. Mm-hmm. I bought a body scrub from like a brand that was on Shark Tank that Mark Cuban partnered with. I'll do anything probably that Mark Cuban partnered with. Oh man, there was a couple other things. That's a great point. Okay, I'm looking at a list of like the infomercials. I had one of these things that like you would clip your hair in and it would braid it, but it really just like twisted it. Yeah. That was dumb. Oh, Nickelodeon magazine. That was an infomercial that I did.
Or those zoo.
Zoo books. I never had them.
I didn't either.
God, they seemed cool though.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, and I would like to give a shout out to a friend of mine. So this is a harigami. Which was sort of, this is crazy, sort of a slap bracelet for your head. But also, you could like,
what a name,
fold and snap it and like create like crazy, like
allegedly
cool buns with it. My friend Kristen had a harigami. She had really long hair, like all through grade school, like almost to her butt for like ever. And so she could actually use a harigami. Then at some point in her 20s, she found the harigami at her house and like used it again. And she's like, listen, like,
it actually works.
Yeah, like she's like, look how good my hair looks though. Because then when you take it out, it left your hair like in some nice curls actually. So she's like,
okay.
She was an advocate. I think she like either lost it again or it finally broke. I don't remember.
Well, we also have to address that I am not in this episode.
You're not in this episode.
She
was unavoidably detained, as they say in You Got Mail.
Sure. So I was not here. So with that, I am actually going to let Katherine intro us because she talked to them.
I did, and it was my subtle way to start overtaking this podcast as my own. Today on the podcast, we have John Banark and Bryan Geise from the MCC Precision Machine Program. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. Okay, so can we just start from the beginning? Can you just tell me what we're going to go really, really low level. What does precision machining mean? For those who might hear that term and say that means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm. we get that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
You know, when we go to events and promotional events, we try to bring that down to where it is a relatable level.
Right.
You know, in manufacturing, we're everything in the world is manufactured in some way, shape, or form. So what Precision Machine does is we're either building the tools to make those parts and manufacture those pieces, or we have an end product that we're creating off of a machine that we're selling to a customer, you know. But the machines, like everything in front of us, the water bottles, your phone, electronics, everything gets manufactured in some way. And so we're the start of all that process. We're making those machines and building those tools to make other things.
Right.
So, you know, boiled down to a real low level, it's we have to be there in order to create these tools for everything in the world. You know,
right.
So some way, shape, or form, everything has been touched by a precision machinist.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of So in this program, what kind of tools and technologies and that kind of like that kind of stuff do students learn?
Well, we start off with the basic machining knowledge. We start off with the students that come into the program with teaching them anywhere from print reading to just the knowledge of the equipment, and then they work their way through the program with just very basic projects on the manual equipment. And then when they work their way up through the program, they start getting into more of the automated CNC programming, and everything's programmed.
Okay.
So they don't have to do it with the manual equipment anymore.
Okay.
And then we get into a little bit of the robotics and the wire EDMs and things like that. That's a little more high-tech technology that takes a lot more schooling. What we're doing is we're teaching our students the basics.
Okay.
And they're not going to get really good at that until they get into the manufacturing world or the tooling world. And their employers are going to have to teach them some.
Okay. So there's some on-the-job training.
Oh, yeah, a lot of on-the-job training.
And so what does that job field look like? What kind of jobs can someone come to MCC, get a degree in precision machining, and go do?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities in the Omaha area and surrounding area. Right now we have a good-sized advisory team that's in the local Omaha area, plus the surrounding area that come and visit us, Valmont's and the Tri-V's and companies like that. And so there's a lot of job opportunities right now that companies are looking for machinists. And they continue to knock on our door, and they call us all the time looking for students that we just don't have at this time. So the opportunities are out there.
Right.
And we just can't find enough students at this time to give to the employees that are looking for them.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, it boils down to specific job positions. What they're looking at is, a machinist, a CNC machinist, maybe a tool and die maker, a mold maker. You could even get into maybe a more advanced production kind of things like that. But those are the main jobs that we really look at, is those four kind of categories there.
Okay. So in this program, I guess just because I'm out of my pure curiosity, like what kind of things do students create? Like tangible things do they start to create in these classes?
So a lot of our projects that we do throughout the program are actually tools that they're going to be using as a machinist later on. And to most people, they're not going to be much. Sometimes we have off projects and we make a hammer, or we've even made some oddball, just other kind of handy tools for the machinist trade.
Got it.
We have setup blocks, 1, 2, 3 blocks. They're really just a rectangular block that gets precision ground. We have V blocks, and like I said, these are all kind of set up and useful tools that they're going to use later on in their job.
So they create their own tools?
Yes. Yep. And
that's cool.
And really to a high precision, we talk about precision, and that's kind of in our name. We don't really say, precision is different to a lot of different people.
Right.
When in a construction trade, precision is maybe a 1/16 of an inch. You pull a tape measure out and you're looking at that tape measure, a 1/16 of an inch, or even a 32nd of an inch is pretty small, right? And
right.
And so in our trade, we're looking at tolerances that are very tight when we talk about. So to put it into perspective, if you take a hair and you pull it out of your head, that hair measures 0.003 of an inch, 0.003. We have machines that can take that hair. So if we split that 3 times, take one of those pieces, and now we cut that piece into 10 pieces. One of those is how accurate our machines can handle.
Whoa!
So precision is just a different avenue for us than it is. Not that, in the construction trade, a 1/16 to 32nd of an inch is great if you're holding that.
Right.
I can't do it. I'm terrible at construction. But I can hold super, super tight tolerances with the machines and the capabilities that we have.
Wow.
So to put those into perspective, so our trade is very temperature controlled. A lot of climate control goes on to where we've got, we need to make sure that tools are in top condition. We need to make sure
Right.
that machines are in top condition, because to hold those kind of tight tolerances like that, you have to have prime equipment to do that. And temperature change can
Mess with that.
can fluctuate that
Yeah.
surprisingly. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but just kind of talk about the precision side of what precision actually means. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of unfathomable until you really break it down into something tangible. But
Yeah, and that's the problem we have with the high school kids. They don't understand when we talk about precision machine technology. They don't understand what we're actually talking about when we talk about precision,
Right.
what that actually means. And, they go to school and they don't learn that type of precision.
Right.
And like Brian said, our tools that we use to measure that is not a tape measure. We have a few tape measures in our department, not many.
Yeah.
But
right.
They won't suffice.
no, we're using tools that nobody's ever heard of.
Right. Including me. Sorry.
Yeah, so and like Brian said, our tools have to be in really good condition. And it's just a program that nobody's heard of, so it's really hard to recruit for our program.
Yes.
It really is. So we have to go out and talk to the high school kids, and we have to get the high schools down to the college and show them what we have to offer, which is a really nice top-of-the-line shop.
Yeah.
We have, if you counted up what we had in the shop, we have probably $1.6 million worth of equipment in our shop right now.
Whoa. I think we can spin this, and it can be, you guys can market it as more of a mysterious program.
I call it a hidden trade.
Yeah, there you go.
I really do.
Do either of you watch Severance and they say the work is mysterious and important?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you guys can start.
It is important. It
It's
is
mysterious, but it is important. Okay, so you guys are located on the Fort campus, right?
Correct.
Okay.
important. South Campus.
South Campus.
Oh gosh, my bad. I'm
Yep.
thinking of more the
Construction.
other lab
Yeah.
in there. Yes. Okay. So, and how long has this program been with MCC? Have you been with it from the start?
No, I was hired in 2013, and it was previously in operation at that time. I used to be on the advisory team for the program back in 2010. So it was previously there then, and the equipment was in poor condition. It was a small shop, so it was. And I used to teach in 2000. I was an adjunct at that time, so it was a really small shop, and we've really started to create. I think the industry partners came along and said, "Hey, we really need this as a department to grow," because the Omaha area in manufacturing is bigger than people realize.
Yeah.
And I think the industry partners came along and said, "Hey, we really need to build this up."
Yeah.
I think MCC has really done a very good job of doing what we needed to do, and most of the equipment in our department is 5 years or less
Yeah.
in
Shiny
age.
and new.
Yeah, so everything's nice and shiny new, and so it was a really small shop before 2013.
And now it's
It's
grown.
expanded.
It's expanded. Definitely. John, when he took over in 2013, really blew the program up into something that is pretty big now. Before, like you said, it was a smaller shop. And this is John's last year, but we're going to be losing John.
Yeah.
And then, but we're going to continue to advance this program. Keep up with this technology. We don't want it to go stagnant again.
Right.
So, we're just going to continue to develop and advance these technologies that are out there, because there's so many of them, and to kind of stay competitive, we've got a lot of new technologies. One of the biggest ones right now that's really coming out is 3D printing.
Yes.
And to go further into that, metal 3D printing has really emerged as a big thing. We are trying to get into that kind of a field. We have a little bit of the 3D printing, and that not just our program too. It's kind of varies on the campuses. The Proto Lab, they have some 3D printers down there.
Yes, that's what that's where my mind went.
We incorporate a little bit of it into our curriculum just for design purposes, and then but down the road we may incorporate that as a separate technology, because there is that need for that additive manufacturing is what they call that. And it's just a very easy way to build parts than the traditional way of what we're doing now. So, but yeah, the program is really done great strides in the last 10 years.
And that's where Brian's forte is. He's a lot younger than I am. So this new technology is kind of his gig. He's more up to date on the new technology.
Right.
And the 3D printing, when we talk about metal 3D printing, that's a fairly new process.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more, not so much around the Omaha area, but it's becoming a big deal. Yeah, nationwide, it's becoming a big deal. The problem with that kind of information or that kind of technology is the room that it takes up and the cost.
Yeah.
So bringing it into our department is really expensive, and we would probably have to expand our shop a little bit more. And that's kind of the drawback to some of that.
Okay, so let's go back in your pre-MCC times. What led you to this? What led you both down this path? Where did you start?
When I started, so I graduated in 2005, and I went to Des Moines Area Community College in Ankeny. Actually, I had no idea what tool and die making or machining was.
Right.
Like a lot of people.
Much like me. Yes, sorry.
The funny thing was in my high school days, I was on a paintball team, and I used to actually want to make my own parts, and I didn't know how to do that. So I kind of looked into it, and then I was like, okay, well, I can do this. Long story short, I never really made a lot of my own parts. I did a few here and there. But then, after school, I worked in a shop in Des Moines for a little while that did gearing and powertrain things. And then I relocated back to Omaha. I'm originally from the Omaha area. And then I relocated back here. I started working at a small shop over in West Omaha for a little bit. And then soon after that, it was only a few months, I applied for a job at Logier, where I got on there as a tool maker, and I was there up until 2023 of December. I started adjuncting here in 2019, and I went full-time teaching, but did my full stint at Logier primarily there. John was one of my cohorts there. We never really worked together necessarily. We weren't in the same shop, but
right.
He spent his time there too. And I'll let him tell you his whole story. But
I got a lot of stories.
Oh, well, we've got nothing but time. So wherever you want to start.
So with Brian, we just to go backwards a little bit, we've started two programs, one at Blair High School and one at North High School.
Okay.
So we've actually expanded from the South Campus and went to Blair and North High School. So we're also reaching out to the high schools, and MCC has provided a lot of the tools and things like that to serve those two high schools. And then Logier Corporation has put a big dollar amount into North High School. So we're also expanding in that area as well.
They're so generous
to
do that. They see the need for it.
Yeah, they see the need. And as far as my career, my dad was a machinist. And he kind of took me under his wing, and he said, this is something I think you would enjoy. And growing up, I didn't really pay attention to what he was doing.
Right.
I was just running around being goofy. But he took me over to Iowa Western when I was a senior, and he said, this is what I do. And I thought it was pretty cool. I thought, hey, this ought to be a trade that I ought to try.
Yeah.
And I got into it, and before I finished my degree, I got hired by Logier, same place Brian worked. And I won't tell you what year because it was a long time ago. And I spent 33 years at Logier Corporation.
Wow.
And I did various jobs. I was a trainer, corporate trainer. I was a supervisor in the tool room, and then I was an adjunct here at Metro. And then I went into a supervisor role at Logier, and then I got hired full-time here at the college in 2013. And I'm sure Brian could tell you this. Teaching is in the trade that we both really enjoy. I mean, I can say it that this is something I don't look back on in my career. 46 years I've been doing this, and it's not something that I look back and say, man, I wish I would have done something different. Because I think you can say the same thing. You're doing something different all the time. It's not the same work. You're not sitting behind a desk. You're actually building something different all the time. And the students, you're working with different students, and sometimes you see their struggles, and you're working with them, trying to help them overcome those struggles. But yeah, it's just one of those fields that you feel. Like I said, I don't have any regrets for the last 46 years. And Bryan said that this could possibly be my last year. I'm thinking about taking the easy road out and enjoying some time. So
I think you've earned that.
46 years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. I was going to ask that. You kind of touched on that, but did either of you ever think like teaching was in your did you ever see yourself teaching, I guess? Or did that just kind of come naturally to you? Like, what made you decide to then start, become like an adjunct here and start teaching what you learned?
I had, the only time I had ever kind of thought about teaching was when, in college, one of my other students that was with me, and he said, he goes, yeah, so-and-so, he's making such and such amount of money. And I was like, really? As an instructor? Really?
Yeah.
And I was kind of impressed by that, but I didn't, at that point, I didn't think about it,
Yeah.
And, later down the road, every job that I kind of encountered, I was always in I wouldn't say leadership, but training role. They knew I was on a lot of onboarding. So people would come in, I would, show them the ropes and get them acclimated. And, so this kind of came naturally. And then, gosh, it was probably in 2016, around that time. My supervisor at the time, who was adjuncting at Metro, John, we were doing skills when we were doing skills here at the college.
USA.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So my supervisor had asked me if I would come down there and do it to help judge, and I said, all right, and then later he kind of asked me, would you want to adjunct down here? And
yeah.
First I kind of said, no, I got too much going on right now. It's just, I just had a new baby, and I was like, not enough right now. Timing's not right.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, a couple of years later, he asked me again, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. Let's see what happens, you know, and it just fit. And so I said 4 years I was adjuncting before I went full time. And I don't regret it at all. It was, it's rewarding. It's very, it's nice to be able to share your knowledge with students and see their light come on, and learn a trade that, interests me, and showing them what the trade is all about. And once they fully understand what this trade is about, then they really get into it. So.
And that's always a good feeling.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, when I was an adjunct in 2000, the guy that I was adjuncted for, they'd been here a long time, and I quit adjuncting in 2005. And I told him in 2005, I said, when you retire, let me know. I'd really like to go full time.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't spoke to him in years. In 2012, he called me up.
Nuh-uh.
And all he said to me is, I'm retiring.
Wow.
And that's all he said to me is, I'm retiring.
What a man of his word.
7 years later.
Yep.
And I applied. That's how I found out. That's how I ended up with this job.
Wow.
That's all he said is, I'm retiring.
Wow.
7 years later.
Oh my gosh. That is truly, what a long game by him.
Yep.
And great follow through.
Yep.
And what led you to adjunct in the first place?
I'd worked on the advisory team for Metro for a long time, and they really needed some adjuncts. They didn't have anybody for evening classes.
Okay.
And so like Bryan said, he was a corporate trainer. He was a trainer at work at Loziers, and so was I. And it was one of those things that you probably enjoyed working with your coworkers, the employees, and so did I. And then I was a corporate trainer, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And it was evenings, which is kind of tough because you got to get up and go to work the next morning.
Yeah.
And it was late hours. And I gave it a try, and I did it for 5 years, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, well, if this ever becomes available, I'd really like to do this full time. And that's how I got on full time.
All right. So you touched on that there are programs in high schools to kind of start introducing them to this. So when did that start, and kind of what does that, is it a, oh my gosh, what is it called?
Dual enrollment?
Yes, dual enrollment,
Yep.
yes.
Yep, they are dual enrollment classes. They can start as early as a freshman. Most of the time we see sophomores on up.
Yeah.
They start, the basic entry-level classes. We have our dual enrollment navigators come in. They sign them up for a class. And they work through the program just as a regular college student would. The schedules are a little different, obviously, because they kind of, schools work in semesters, we're working on quarters.
Right.
But they do accommodate that. And, we do have good turnouts for those classes.
I was going to ask if it's,
we
growing.
generally,
Yes.
I believe, I think what I've heard for next year, my entry-level class is going to be, I think I have 14 students maybe coming in, which, isn't huge numbers in a sense, but our trade doesn't traditionally have a lot of, we're not putting out hundreds of people,
I was about to
machinists
say,
a year.
yeah.
But so 14 is quite a bit. And, it's a great opportunity for a lot of these kids. They're getting free college. They're getting credit for college.
Yeah.
And when they're graduating, they're actually getting our career certificate as the precision machine career certificate. So even if they decide, I don't want to continue this, I want to go to a 4-year college or whatever, they still have that career certificate there. It's something they could fall back on. It looks good on a resume.
Exactly.
But and then if they do decide, hey, I wouldn't continue this program, they only have 1 year, sometimes less. I have one high school student right now that took a kind of a second year class, as we call it, but last summer with me.
Yeah.
And so when he's a senior this year, once he graduates, he's only got about 4 classes and he's got a degree. So
he's set up.
yeah, he's set up, and he's already looking at jobs. I think he's applied at a couple of places. One thing we didn't really touch on yet was our sponsorships that we have available.
Yes, I was going to ask about that.
There's, I don't remember how many exactly do we have, John? Do you know?
I think out in the field right now we're pushing about 25 that are out there.
And they can apply for those sponsorships. They're the employers are giving them a job, part-time job, and they're coming to school. Their tuition is paid usually, and it's really a great thing for these students, to come through the program, not have any debt, get out of school, have a decent job too, and it's a win-win. It also helps the students too. We see a great difference in the students that are going to school and working because they're applying their knowledge,
Right.
and they just excel so much faster than when a student doesn't really have that knowledge or that hands-on at work.
That like real life world, on the job learning.
Absolutely. And so it's just a huge benefit to them that we do try to push. But there's other opportunities there. I mean, John can talk about the Gene Haas scholarship.
Go for it.
We probably back in 2017, I applied for a scholarship program. It's called the Gene Haas Foundation, and they're based out of California. And we have Haas machines in our department.
Okay.
I think we have 8 of them total. And they're CNCs, so they're program machines. And the Haas Foundation realized that there's really a need for machining.
Okay.
And so what they do is the foundation gives money to the local schools that have these machines. And since 2017, they've given our foundation for just our program. We can't use that money For any other program, welding or automotive or anything, we've received $150,000 in scholarship funds.
Wow.
And that money can only be used for scholarships. It
Okay.
can't be used for tools. It can't be used for anything else. It's books and scholarships.
Okay.
So we give $2,500 scholarships. So everybody in our department has been on this scholarship. The high school kids coming out of high school, they apply, they get a $2,500 scholarship.
Wow.
So almost, I would say if they apply, they're going to get it.
Right.
So
It's basically just waiting for them.
it's waiting
to come
for
to
them.
that. To come to that.
Now, if they just don't want to get off their rear end and apply, that's their problem.
Yeah.
You know? And so it is
Snooze, you
waiting
lose.
for them. We've got 5 coming out of high school this year that have applied and all have been accepted. And so, like I said, we've had almost everybody go through the program that's gotten this $2,500, except for the sponsorship students. They don't get the $2,500.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money since 2017, $150,000 in money.
So between the sponsorship and the scholarships opportunities, students can go through this program. It's probably, is it fair to say a lot of students can go through this program paying out of pocket? Probably it could be low.
Could be
Yeah.
low. So there's other scholarships too. I've had
Right.
one student get the Gene Haas plus the Kiewit scholarship, and they just have to go through and apply.
Yes.
That's all. That's what it's about, is getting them. And we bring it up every quarter. Go out and apply. Go out and apply. And I walk them through their process. Just go. Here's how you apply for the scholarships, and we've just got to get them out there to apply.
Yeah. Just and to apply for MCC scholarships, it's just one application, and then it basically tells you everything you would get. So
Yep.
there's no. It's not like you have to fill out. Back in my day, you had to fill out like individual ones for every scholarship you
There's-
wanted.
We,
So
have, we have 2 essay questions on ours. Or
Yeah.
Just 2 simple questions. That's all we ask.
yeah, and that's doable.
Yes.
Kids listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not.
Well,
not-
Brian knows what it's like to get them to apply.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's yeah.
Did you do that yet?
You can hardly
Did you do that
Yeah,
yet?
you can hardly.
Yeah.
But go apply. Go apply. Did
you do that?
Yep.
Did you do that? Yeah.
What's the gentleman's name, that ex Nebraska football player that?
Oh, Johnny Rogers.
Johnny Rogers.
Yeah.
So the students, one of my students, he applied. He got the Johnny Rogers scholarship, and he was, and I great job on that. One night, Johnny Rogers was at the college, and I was talking to him. He goes, "Man, I just can't give this money away," and it's.
If you talk to anyone in the scholarships
Yeah.
office, I feel like they'll say that.
Yeah, and it's just the money's there, guys.
Yeah.
Get it,
Hey Omar, what's the rush? You know it only takes
5 minutes to apply for all the scholarships at MCC. I won't be late for that.
Me neither. I've got my scholarship, and now it's time to find a better career.
Jared?
With my scholarship, I'm training for a career in criminal justice.
Hey Elena, how about you?
With my scholarship, I'm focused on me at MCC.
That's so smart. A single application lets you apply for all the scholarships available today. Classes start March 7th. Get started at mccneb.edu/scholarships.
So obviously students can get sponsorships, get scholarships, but there has to be, like, what kind of student would you say, like, really thrives in this program? Like, who's, like, the ideal, not even they have to be the ideal, but what are some characteristics that might be important for a student to have to really excel in this?
So anybody can really excel at it. The best thing we tell our students is the ability to take notes and listen. Mechanical ability does help a little bit to just understanding some basic hand tools, wrenches, hammer, this kind of that. But that doesn't necessarily mean everything. I worked with somebody that came through the program, knew zero knowledge, didn't know what a wrench was. And you know what? He went through the program, graduated. He's probably one of the top level machinists that I've seen.
Wow.
And it's just learning ability.
Yeah.
Being there, being present. You got to show up to class. You got to what you put in is what you're going to get back. And you've got to be there to do the work, because obviously you can't do the homework at home.
Right.
Right.
A lot of hands-on, in person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, we push being there a lot. But, just being able to say, this is how I learn, understanding your learning style, and saying, I need to take notes. I need to be able to remember this kind of stuff. Because when they get out in industry, sometimes people don't like to repeat themselves multiple times over and over.
Right.
And, even John and I both still take notes on things. If there's something new, you're writing notes down.
Yeah.
You've got to, okay, I gotta remember how to do this. Well, doesn't matter. 8 years down the road. Oh, hey, this is how I do this.
Thank goodness I wrote that down all that time ago.
Exactly. And, but yeah, that's my take on it. I mean, I don't know, John, what do you?
Yeah, I truly believe is showing up on time.
Yes.
Attendance is really important.
And that's in any job.
We've had industry, or I keep bringing up industry partners, because we have a lot of industry partners. And one of the things that they always talk to us about is attendance.
Yes.
And I always tell them, well, we can't change that. If a student wants to be there, they're going to be there.
Right.
We can talk to the students all we want, but we can't change that.
Right.
So being there on time, being there daily, taking notes, paying attention, things like that. And, everybody's capable of learning this trade. It just takes the effort. Was I the best student in college? Probably not.
Me neither.
And does it take some math? Yes, it does. And in high school, I was terrible at math.
Yeah.
I was horrible at math. Part of my problem was that I didn't put the effort in. And now we use math all the time. It takes some math.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's not, in today's society, you're using calculators. There's machinist calculators. There's a lot of different ways to get that information. You can just talk into your phone and ask questions about math. And in the old school, the way I did it was all pencil and paper, You didn't have, the information that you have today, the technology you have today to figure out math issues or problems.
So being an active participant, an active listener,
yes,
that's going to get you.
Ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I would say that applies to so many fields of work, but.
Well, the one thing I'd like to say is the technology in our trade is changing.
That is what I wanted
monthly.
to touch on. Okay. Yes. It's like I had a question sitting.
You can look at an item or a machine, and the technology builds off that machine probably monthly. I mean, there's something coming out. I get magazines and stuff, and I browse through these magazines, and it just comes up, things that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And that's where, like I said, Bryan excels at that stuff. He can look at something and he can go, wow, we need this, or this is something I'd like to have. But the technology is unbelievable that's out there, especially with like robotics and things like that are coming up. We do have a robot that feeds off one of our machines that will pick the part up, put it in place, and machine it. And then it picks a part up, drop it in a tray, and pick the next part up, put it in the machine.
Wild.
It is wild. But it's the technology. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And hard to tell what the future is going to be like in 10 years from now.
Yeah.
It's just expanding every day. Bryan, you got anything to touch in on technology
the
today?
AI portion. I mean, people always ask about AI.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
How does that affect your trade? And there is some little snippets into the AI that kind of come into the machining portion. I assume it will probably get to the point where you can kind of tell the machines what you want to do, or the programs. I watched a video the other day kind of touching on that. They had AI write some programs for the machines. It did okay, but it didn't do perfect. You know, so that technology is evolving, but nonetheless, it is something that is going to be probably
a major part.
Yeah, integrated. You know, not that we still don't need those skills, the fundamentals of how the machine works and how to
build those machines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have to, those fundamentals still have to remain there, but. the higher tech side of it, we will get into that. And, when the need is there, we listen to our advisory board. If they're saying, hey, we're doing this, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And,
Right.
And try and get that into the curriculum. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being here today. So if students are interested in this program, there's room for them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We offer morning classes, evening classes. We'll give individual tours. If somebody makes contact with us, they need to call the navigators, or they can call us directly, and we'll make time to give a tour to that student and their parents, whoever they want to bring down. So it's just a matter of somebody getting a hold of us, let us know, and we'll make time to give a tour. We're available most time during the week. So
All right. Okay. Well, thank you both for being here today.
sure,
All
sure.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us talk a little bit about a trade that not a lot of people know about.
Hey, I learned a lot today. So I know that means it's not just me who will learn something today. So there you go.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. MCC Made with Emma Frazier and Katherine Rakes. Produced by Emma Frazier. Production support by Herdat.
Got a question for us? Email mccmade@mccneb.edu, and your question may be answered on a future podcast.